Good evening. Well, it's good to see the PCD actually working for its overtime.
In this office, Kyle, people only sit with my permission.
On your feet.
That saves wear and tear on government furniture, I suppose. Bit petty, though, isn't it, Herbert?
Miss Lomas?
You've been required to attend this office with full documentation following your recent trial, at which you were charged with contravention of the Immigration Act.
And after a month's harassment from every snooper and peaked cap in the city, at which I was found absolutely and convincingly not guilty. No thanks to your conniving and crooked lawyers.
And at which the PCD asked leave to appeal against that verdict. That leave to appeal has now been granted. The further usual procedure can therefore now take its course. Up to now, Kyle, you have always been privileged. We intend to withdraw those privileges.
Identity card. Union card.
Oh, no. No, no, no. I hand my union card over only the General Secretary of my union. That's the law, and you know it.
Here is his notarized authority for us to impound it.
Well, I can't work without it. Nobody can. You know that.
Precisely. Card?
Checkbook card.
What?
Your account at the State Bank has been frozen. Your subsistence allowance has been set at $5 Anglo per day. Checkbook card.
It's cigarette money. You can't even eat on that.
You'll have no means of purchasing food. Ration card?
Householder's permit. A compulsory purchase order has been issued and the premises will be vacated within 48 hours.
Oh, come on, Scarden. I'm easy game, all right. No need to throw a woman and 2 kids out on the street.
A natural consequence of your own actions, Kyle. You should have thought earlier of your wife and children, not to do it at home very often.
Driving license?
Nichols, you will impound the vehicle to which this refers with a memo to the Inspector of Culture, of course.
It's already been done, sir.
Pass to use public transport? Entitlement to medical and dental treatment? Entitlement to telephone discs?
Without these documents, you no longer exist. You are now a non-citizen.
You will remain, as is customary, in extreme detention for 48 hours. Out.
No contact, Nichols. Not with anyone.
What was that message again?
Oh, some girl from your office. She sounded very frightened. She said, your friend, you know who she meant, had been taken to PCD Central under escort. He could be late.
He is. Very. Like about 3 days late. Look, when he arrives, will you hang on to him? Tell him to wait here.
You mean if he arrives, don't you?
Enjoy the walk, Kyle. You'll have to get used to it. And while you're at it, think about your last meal. The memories are all your belly's gonna get now. You're not a snotty, big-shot journalist anymore. If you want some hot tips on who you are now, try the cross arches.
Why don't you crawl back under your stone, Nichols? I'd rather be nothing than the state lackey you are.
spared a couple of Anglos, friend. Just a couple.
Yeah, sure. What does a couple of Anglos buy?
I need 4 for a fire price.
Yeah, there's 4. What's a fire price?
The gaffer and the patrols. Chip in 4 Anglos and they let you sit here. In the old days, you got yourself into the nick when it was cold. Now it's one depressant injection that takes 5 minutes and lasts a month. And you're still freezing and there's nowhere you can go.
You said sit there, didn't they let you sleep?
You a non-citizen?
Yeah, well, from 2 hours ago, anyway.
You've got a lot to learn. I've seen people killed for a coat like the one you're wearing. Never mind the shoes. So you stay awake and try and keep warm. Sleep in the day, on your own, half an hour at a time.
Room for 2 inside that coat, darling. Only 15 Anglos. And real value for it. Clean.
No, thanks. There's 5 Anglos for the thought.
Right. Bully would have that coat off you while you were at it. You got a cigarette?
Yes, of course.
Tailor-mades, eh? Privilege fags. Don't sell that. Swap it for grub. In 6 months, you'll have hands like these. Scabies, dirt and malnutrition. The cold's worse. Takes the kidneys, and then you're incontinent. Can't you smell them? Me. Why'd they take your cards away?
For trying to tell the truth.
That won't seem very important soon. Not now you're here. The foreign press don't print much about us. Who wants to read about squalor?
Well, how about you? How did you lose your cards?
I was a fitter. Wife, 1 son, in Derby. There was a part shortage and we were on a 2-day week. I like to work. I got an unauthorized job on the side. The PCD found out, took the cards off me. The kid's in a state training center. The wife gassed herself. Look at them. Non-citizens. 80,000 of them in London. Walking and begging and dying in rags. Just to remind privileged card holders of what happens when they cross the PCD.
Hey. What's your name?
That's lesson 1, friend. You don't have a name anymore. You're a number. Let's have a look at your card. That's a surveillance card you're carrying. Bugged. Keep staying away from your friends.
This man, Kyle, or whatever his name used to be, proves the point we both made in committee to the Home Secretary. The need to rationalize documentation. I think you'll be pleased with our results.
I was impressed by your research team's first report.
And now they've come up with a document, which will go into immediate production, for those citizens who are privilege classified. Instead of all those consumer entitlements at the top of the status scale, money, petrol, cigarettes, food, footwear, being spread across assorted cards...
That was always done for security, to prevent black market misuse.
We now have the one document. Security is increased because the metal strips in each section are computer-linked to each other and to individual bank accounts, so you can check the consumer's total buying against income.
Should make the tax people happy.
Expensive to produce?
Fairly. but also impossible to forge. And we're only talking about the million or so people in this country entitled to privileges such as petrol, cigarettes, and so on. Paper, not plastic, you notice, for issue every 3 months. Again, an increase in security.
It really is very ingenious.
Who the hell are you? And how did you know where to find me?
Irrelevant, Mr. Brett. I have news for you on Kyle.
Well, it better be good, or I'll pick up this moving money box and rattle you out of it.
Not good, Mr. Brett, and I'm as concerned as you are. Kyle has been declared a non-citizen by the PCD. He's on Z classification, and his card carries a surveillance bug, so be careful. When you find him, tell him I have information of great and urgent interest. Urgent, Mr. Brett.
Card.
It's a treat to see a barmaid who looks like a barmaid instead of a vending machine. Lean over a bit more, love, will you?
You're very cheeky.
Yeah, I know. You should hear me on Saturdays when I'm roused.
And I am not a barmaid. I am a civil servant.
I'll forgive you. You have a drink?
If you've got a card.
Oh, I think I can stretch to a few. Big gins, eh?
Now, I believe you're a friend of Dave Brett's.
Oh, not a friend exactly, more of a business associate. I'm a villain, remember?
You look it.
Big brandy for him.
He drinks his own.
Hello, Cahoon. What do you want?
Is this place clean?
This section is.
Now, I heard a kind of rumour up north that sounded like wages. I want a word with your clever pal.
So do I. Only I've got to find him first. He's a non-citizen now.
A number? Classification?
Z.
The worst. When?
2-3 days.
What's he wearing? Nutter?
Sheepskin jacket with battered.
We're looking for a number. A new one. Green and on the wander. He's wearing a sheepskin jacket. Put the word around, will you? Let the local mobs know. Tell them it's a big favour for me, will you?
You must want my clever pal, as you call him, pretty badly.
That's part of it, yes. The other part is that nobody should be a number. Top him, gas him, sling him in clink and thump him every day. Any one of those is cleaner than making somebody a non-citizen.
This is the fella.
You were chatting a number. A new one in a good coat.
Your PCD.
Do we look it?
Everybody does to me.
Nutter. There's 2 days' grub in there and a good pullover. There's also some telephone discs. Look after them, they're hard to come by. Here's a number. You see that fellow again? Ring it.
You friends of his?
Yeah.
But I don't need this for any help.
Take it anyway.
Kyle, as he was called, has now been a non-citizen for 5 days. According to behavioral studies, that is the optimum trough for psychological breakdown. He's been following the usual pattern, walking aimlessly, sleeping rough without food, no contact with friends or family, not even that loudmouth news editor friend of his. Greaves? Now, if you please. You've been seen talking to a recent non-citizen, sheepskin coat. Surveillance screen 4.
Never seen him before in my life.
What did he say to you?
Nothing.
You do know where you are.
Oh, yeah. PCD at the top.
You know, then, what we can do to you.
Mister, you've already done it. I've sunk to where you want me. You can't push me any lower.
You will nevertheless help us.
Mister, I wouldn't give you one of the lice I'm crawling with.
Leave it, Nichols. You can go now.
I trust the reason for that intervention was not sentiment, Miss Lomas.
The reverse. I dislike inefficiency and time wasting. His information on Kyle would be minimal.
Nichols, I want you to pick up the non-citizen that used to be Kyle and deliver him at 9 o'clock this evening to Miss Lomas's flat.
Yes, sir. Category pickup?
The one you've been following, category 3.
Yes, sir.
Category 3's a bit steep, isn't it?
Well, it's rough, too. But it's the one laid down in the carefully researched behavioral recommendations. When in doubt, Miss Lomas, follow the recommendations.
Follow them, Mr. Scarden. Not enjoy them.
Pick that one up and sling him in. You can fumigate the wagon later.
Sir.
Regent's Park. Miss Lomas's flat. I'll follow in my car.
That number from the Cross Arches was on the Uter. It says your pal was picked up by the PCD. Took a right bouncing in the wagon. He's off to Regent's Park, name like Lomax.
Lomax.
You need this. He's Z classified. He'll have a surveillance bug in his card. Deactivate it.
I must be losing my grip.
When you pick him up, make sure he gets some of his own back if you can. If he's up to it. It's important.
You seem to know a lot about non-citizens, Sammy.
I should do. I was one myself once for 18 months. I had to kill somebody to get his papers. I took to thieving and the black market. Better than getting scabies and sleeping in shop doorways. You want nut?
No.
Thank you, Nichols. Please wait outside to see that the subject leaves safely.
Yes, sir. Still 3?
Of course.
Can I get you something, Kyle?
No, Miss Lomas, you may not, and his name is no longer Kyle.
Very nice thought, Miss Lomas.
However, you could open a window for me. I am in the same room as Scarden.
My thanks for the meal, Miss Lomas. Smoked salmon, veal escalope, cheese soufflé. Light but nourishing. The claret was excellent. Card.
Where are my children and my wife?
I really don't know. Should I?
Dolly, where are they?
It's true, Kyle. They've disappeared.
It's inevitable. You're an idealist, a dreamer. You used to be sheltered in your Crusaders' tower, but only by our leave. You're a puppet dancing, but on our strings. You're amusing, sometimes even helpful. A licensed clown who served as a useless and futile mouthpiece for the few dissatisfied elements in our community towards progress.
Towards what?
Then he became an irritant, a nuisance we could no longer tolerate.
I don't like after-dinner speeches very much.
You'd better listen very carefully to this one. We took certain steps to cancel you. Do you like those steps?
No, not very much, but then I am adaptable.
That's good. Adapt to this. I'm fair-minded enough to appreciate your considerable talent under direction. I am, therefore, prepared to reinstate you as a citizen at the same privilege level in one of two positions. Information officer at the Public Control Department or Home Affairs correspondent on the government-controlled newspaper.
But I would have to do what I was told on both jobs.
With the biggest byline in the country. We would, of course, compensate you for the loss of your overseas readership. You may realize by now that that is lost anyway, which makes for the easy life for all of us.
Accepted, Carl. Look at you. The estimated life of a non-citizen is 3.8 years. You won't last 6 months as a number.
I'll take that chance.
You know where to find us. Out.
Have a good meal, did you? Well, I'm out here freezing on a pavement. Well, now it's your turn to freeze.
Doesn't matter.
Look, it's important. Kick him.
He was only doing his job.
Whiskey, Agnes. Big and quick.
Listen, don't give him any food, drink, or sympathy. He's in the 5-day trough. Let's find out how much nerve he's got left. Now he knows what the PCD can do to him. If it's gone, it's no use to any of us, including himself.
Some character in a small car with smoked windows wants to see you. Urgent, he said.
Faceless can do his own dirty work.
It is not dirty work. It's just work. And it is not his, it's ours.
Not mine. Not anymore.
Look, Kyle.
On the neck.
How long have you known me?
Years.
Well, now, look, I am the salesman. Con artist. You are the bright one. That is why they tried to cancel you. Not me, you!
Well, they made it, didn't they?
Look. What is this?
The Anglo dollars.
And what is this?
identity cards, who you are.
They're just pieces of paper with printing on them. Now, you are Kyle, not a piece of paper. Kyle, K-Y-L-E. By the way, I whisked your wife and kids up to Scotland. A Highland village where they know about shelter and they don't talk to strangers.
Thank you. I'm going to see Faceless and I'll be back in about an hour. No one follow me. No one.
Where's he think he's going?
Back to work.
You look terrible, Kyle.
Well, I have felt better.
It's all in here. We've lost days, so we haven't much time.
Thanks for the lift.
We've lost all surveillance on Kyle. I want a red alert out immediately.
Red's only for serious charges.
This is serious. Document contravention, attempted murder of a senior PCD officer. Start behaving like a deputy controller, Miss Lomas, not some sentimental woman who's lost a dog. And you, Nichols, report to my office as soon as the civil service clinic has finished with you.
Did Carl do this?
He was on the floor. He's really getting personal about Kyle.
He always has been. This is the first time it's been as public as this.
Well, well, well. That little birdie up north was singing in tune. Not rumours. I was right to come down, wasn't I?
Well, what are they?
They're the first two production copies of the new all-in-one privilege entitlement card.
Petrol, fags, food, clothes. This is the highest class ration book I've ever seen. When's it go out?
Status citizens collect them on signature and thumbprint from their local PCD offices on Sunday. Become valid 8 o'clock Monday morning.
Monday? It's Thursday night now. Folly you hadn't got lost. Folly we'd known about these sooner.
Look, it's all right. There still could be time.
Dave, don't give me lessons on the black market. I invented it. This lot's too late now. If... I say if we could get plates, I could lay on a printer to start work tomorrow. Just about give us time to set up distribution.
Shut up, Calhoun, will you? Shut up! Now listen to me. They're computer linked on the metal strips here. Now, how much buying time does that give you?
2 days. 3, it gets risky.
Then the computer would go berserk.
Right.
All the state shops and garages would be cleaned out by then.
Right.
Consumer chaos for the privileged.
The biggest black market deal this country's ever known. You could call me Napoleon Calhoun. In fact, I'd insist on it. Where are we going to get plates by this time tomorrow for a start?
I can fix that. First, we do the deal. I want 250,000 cards printed, and the plates revert to me when we've finished.
No problem.
There's 50,000 cards for me. 50,000 cards to be split among the London mobs. That leaves you with 100,000 cards, any price you like, Calhoun, and you split the profit right down the middle with me.
Look, if what you want is the country flooded, there's 50,000 for Brom as well.
All right, if that's how it's done, all right.
We still haven't got the plates.
We'll have them. Listen, Dave, I want you to go to the paper. You'll find a little old bloke working there. He'll be sweeping the floor or making the tea. His name is Frank Woodcock. Now, if you say that I sent you, he won't believe you. But if you say, well, if you call him Mr. Caxton and say that you'll give him a bucket of stout, then he'll believe you, all right?
Right. And what use is a tea lad?
He was a master engraver and he was a master printer. He was one of the best, and he still is. He was forcibly made redundant, and the government 1 year wanted to make the unemployment figures.
There is a public alarm on this subject. Any citizen seeing him is to inform public control immediately.
Hey, boss.
There is a public alarm on this subject. Any citizen seeing him is to inform public control immediately. Inform immediately.
Get the small cellar ready, Agnes. Some blankets, nice and cosy.
What do you think, Nutter?
Use this. Find a ringer. That number down at the Cross Arches might have enough nerve still left to do it. You're looking a bit better.
Spend some of your anglos getting clean. There's a caretaker at one of the state hostels who makes his beer money sneaking numbers into the bathhouse when they can afford it. Did you find that fella?
Fancy a walk?
Where to?
Leeds. Papers and a job when you get there.
On the crook?
No, sort of. Black market, few thumpings.
Better than this. What do I do?
Put this coat on. There's other clothes, shoes in there. Money and grub in this bag, OK?
That's not much to do.
Ah. Well, this is Z classified with a surveillance bug.
Deactivated. I can work it.
Well, that's what you do. You work it on and off when you have the chance. The PCD will think that the deactivator's faulty. Look, keep your own card on you. If the PCD pick you up, this is what you tell them.
Not too early at all, Professor. You know of my personal involvement in this project.
Security vans under escort have already delivered the new privilege entitlement cards to all PCD offices. From Monday onwards, this data recorder will give you purchases by region as they occur, and at the same time, a computer printout will be making a list of who's bought what and whether they can afford it.
Neat, neat. What's the side panel?
The Ministry of Supply insisted on that. It's a stock-taking resume, so that supplies can be monitored across the country. Shortages identified and so on.
Bookkeepers.
It's fully operational now. Ready for Monday?
Good.
They found Kyle.
Surveillance screen 4.
Surveillance screen 4, please.
Where?
North Road, I've alerted patrols.
Damn and blast.
His friends have obviously provided him with a faulty deactivator. He'll appear again.
5 hours sleep. Could have done with 500.
I know how you feel. I think I'll find myself a nice, steady job and settle down. Staying up all night, organising paper, bribing printers. No kind of occupation for a man of my age. Thanks very much, sir.
Hello, Mr. Wilkes.
Hello, Mr. Caxton. Can you make a plate of that?
We should know better than that, Mr. Wilkes. You don't need a plate. Deep-edged line block will do it.
Can you make one?
Well, find me a block-making shop with a gear, and it's 4 hours' work.
Consider it found.
Russian paper stock, full of twigs.
That's just what my printer said. We've got the same.
Yeah. How many are we printing?
200,000.
Oh, you need more than one block, then. Rubbishy metal they give you to work with nowadays. Claps out after any sort of run. I better make you half a dozen. And try and use a flat bed. One of the old flat beds is best. And get the clicker to keep an eye on the definition at the edges.
You tell him yourself. I haven't understood a word you've been talking about, mate.
I'll put it through for you. Be a treat to do some proper work again. Your friend said something about a bucket of stout, Mr. Wilkes.
Kindly ascend the stairs, Mr. Caxton.
Has everybody stopped speaking English around here? What's all this Caxton and Wilkes now?
Caxton was one of the first great printers, and Wilkes was a scurrilous pamphleteer.
I used to like Morecambe and Wise myself.
Aye. Well, I could do with a laugh myself, boss, because we might as well pack up and go home.
What do you mean?
You know that metal wire that runs through these cards, that computer checkout wire that proves they're legit?
Yes.
Well, the PCD have collared all supplies of it. I've been running and phoning and pestering all night. I can't lay my hands on an inch of it.
Mr. Tasker is more than competent to organise distribution of the new privilege entitlement cards. You concentrate on finding Kyle.
We're trying, but he never stays on surveillance for any more than a rough directional. All we know is he's heading north.
Then move surveillance vans beyond him. Form a corridor working on a double perimeter survey. I want him found.
The feel of a glossy magazine in the old days. The smell of it. Heavy calendared paper with the lights in good 150 screen artwork. What do we get now? Recycled soap packet pulp with blurry propaganda on it.
I'm sorry to waste your time, Mr. Caxton. It's all off.
Why?
The metal strip for the cards. We can't get any of it. Makes the cards useless.
Is that all you're worried about?
It's enough.
It's nothing. Listen, there was one of these documentation technologists round the works. A long-nosed chap, white coat. Pay attention, my man. Didn't know a collating machine from our cat's elbow. Never had ink on his hand in his life. The name of Cheever.
There's the man who designed the cards we've
Course he is. Showing off on the blank one. Him and his metal strip and double the print cost. Too clever's his trouble. Documentation technologist. I'm a printer.
All right. What is it?
He couldn't be bothered to listen either.
Well, now, suppose you tell me exactly how, Mr. Caxton,
Embossing, Mr. Wilkes. Where the metal strip is, you emboss a line. Like the old visiting cards where people put a thumb across. If your name was raised, you're a gentleman. Computers don't have thumbs, they just read metal. And instead of that strip, you just emboss a 2-point rule. And then use a metallic ink to print it. The computer can't tell the difference.
You've actually tried this yourself?
Of course I've tried it. If they don't let me play with their machines now and again, I'll put things in their tea. Documentation technologist. My last week's underdrawers.
Printers. Give me 26 soldiers of lead and I will conquer the world.
Kyle's dead.
How?
Tell it again.
I met him after I'd seen you and palled up with him. I told him I'd meet him at the big rubbish tip near Biggleswade. You can light a fire there, see, and there's sometimes chucked out gear you can use.
Get on with it.
Well, he was there, but his face was all blue, like he'd taken an overdose of something. And then he died. He said I could have his coat and stuff, Mr. Honest. And I was going to hand in his non-citizen card with that funny thing on it at the first PCD office I could reach.
I presume there's a body somewhere?
No, there isn't. I went out myself. It's one of the biggest municipal tips in the country. Bulldozers work a 7-day week. Kyle is somewhere underneath 10 meters of domestic garbage. Only one of a dozen non-citizens.
Fitting end for a muckraker.
I didn't know you had such a nice line in epitaphs.
Just this once.
We've done it.
I've got 100,000 cards spread all over the north, and the London and Brumblotties can't wait till 8 o'clock tomorrow morning when the shop's open. We've got runners with fistfuls of money ready to buy up everything in sight. They ought to declare it a bank holiday.
Perhaps they will. Perhaps they'll call it Herbert's Garden Monday.
I wish the little lads in the government printing works could have seen how it should be done.
The boss said to ask how much we owed you.
Owed me? I should pay you. I was a tradesman again, a proper one. Not a tea lad.
Everybody needs money.
My eldest son was the ambitious one. Set up his own business in '65. Did well. Had 12 people working for him. Then they started putting the squeeze on the self-employed. SET, VAT, Class 4 levy, paperwork up to your knees, tax snoopers in twice a week, God knows what. He's in an asylum now. Sits there staring at the wall and saying, I always worked hard. What went wrong? Over and over. Over and over.
Thank you. Right. Where are my 50,000 cards and the plates?
Where you said to put them?
We never worked for money before.
We haven't had lessons in survival from Herbert's Garden before, either. And never again. You keep that for me. You are my private bank. Okay?
Okay.
You can keep my share of that, Sammy.
No, he doesn't. We keep it. We keep every penny of it. That is our insurance. I am not going to be without survival money twice in my life. Not twice. You bank it. All of it.
What sort of job will you do as a front?
Same job I've always done.
Berserk, it's impossible. Yes. Yes, I am fully aware of the situation and of its implications. I have already spoken to the Minister of Supply. Yes, I am aware that he is holding you responsible. We are taking every possible step. Out! Situation.
I've rerouted the computer for triple checks, and there's no error. I can't believe it.
I don't want your belief, Cheever. What can we do?
Nothing. 3 experts say these forgeries are the best they've ever seen, and no retailer or wholesaler could be expected to detect the change in metal strip. Why should they? The computer approved it. Situation? These forgeries are being used very efficiently and very quickly, and have been for the last 2 days. This has triggered off panic buying by holders of legitimate privilege cards. Result? In 5 major areas, there is an acute shortage, in some cases a famine, of petrol, tobacco, essential drugs and food. Its scale? The total privilege entitlement for 2 months has been taken up. The consequences? A completely new rationing system imposed as an emergency over the whole country.
That is an assumption, Miss Lomas.
No, Mr. Scarden. I spent a year at the Ministry of Supply. It is a certainty and inevitable if these cards are still being printed.
I've lost my non-citizen card. Mr. Nichols, do let go of my arm. After all, we're not engaged, are we? I've lost my non-citizen card, and I've come to report it.
I thought you were dead.
Really? Well, no, I've never been dead before. Quite interesting. I want my identity back. And you are going to give it to me.
I very much doubt that. Why should I?
Because you are a civil servant. Right through to your tiny grey marrow. You do deals. You sleep with compromise under your pillow. Dig it out. You're going to need it. More now than ever before. My papers still here?
They're in the safe. You were rather a special case.
I am still a special case. Tell your flunky to open it.
All right, Nicholas. I'll humour you. There's no reason on earth I should hand back your identity to you.
Oh, yes, there is. You see, if you don't, another 50,000 cards will be released within the hour, and the plates used to print them will be in business 24 hours a day.
And if I do return your papers?
Ah, no, that's better, that's better. Well, let me see. The PCD will make a sudden and daring swoop, under your supervision, of course, and they will recover all the rest of the cards and the plates. That will give you something with which to blunt the Home Secretary's teeth when he comes snapping at your throat. His elected teeth at your appointed throat.
Do it, Herbert.
Yes. Do it, Herbert. You'll find the rest of the cards and the plates in the boot of a car parked in Herbert's slot. There's a carrier bag on the passenger seat. Keep your sticky fingers off it, won't you?
What's so important about the carrier bag?
Well, it contains smoked salmon, veal escalope, ingredients for a cheese souffle, a bottle of excellent claret, light and dry.
You really do push your luck, don't you?
That's what luck is for, Deli. Kyle. K-Y-L-E.